Hello, Cubs fans, and welcome to a brand new edition of Cubs on Tap. I am Ron Luce. There are four of us tonight. It is not technically a full barn because I don't think we can technically do a full barn anymore with the addition of our returner, Mr. Nick Hudson. But we got four of us here tonight. I am Ron Luce. I'm joined by Mr. Tyler Edmonds himself, Mr. Nick Hudson, and the cheese man, Mr. Joey Ricotta. We're here having a good time on a Wednesday night talking Cubs baseball. But before we get into it, gentlemen, how are we doing here on this Wednesday night? Nick, we'll start with you, buddy. How you feeling?
Doing great, man. I'm excited to talk some baseball.
I love it. Short, sweet, and to the point. Tyler, how you doing, brother?
Man, it's always good to get on here. Every week, I look forward to this, getting on here, talking to, I don't care if it's one of y'all, two of y'all, all of y'all. It's always great getting on here, man, to talk to you guys. We're one more week closer to baseball, and I can't freaking wait.
It's like therapy. Like, this is our therapy.
It really is. Yeah.
It's Cubs on Tap.
Is.
Like, some people go to the bar to shoot shit with their friends. Some people, go to restaurants and have nice dinners with their friends. We get on the microphone and we talk Cubs baseball. This is our weekly therapy. I'm going to preface asking how Joey is because, as Jeremiah says in the comments, Joey's alive! Hashtag where's Joey? We have found him. Buddy, how are you? And you shaved the beard. I don't know who you are anymore, but how you doing, buddy? We missed you.
Woo! Let out the Ric Flair.
Woo! Can I get two claps and a Ric Flair? Woo!
I'm doing good, man. I am doing really good. I'm pumped to be back on. I wish Juice was here, but we have Nick here, who I've never done a show with before, so this is awesome, and I know we're going to be doing many more this season, and hopefully at the ballpark together this year at Wrigley. Beautiful, historic Wrigley Field. Ron, boys, I am excited to be back, and I'm just going to preface this as well, like you said. If I end up just like dropping off, it's because half of the block has lost power. I hear like neighborhood houses with their generators going. The mobile gas station down the street lost its power. So like, how am I still sitting here with power? I don't know. I didn't like pay extra for this service. But yeah, I'm doing good, boys. Excited to talk Cubs baseball with you boys as always.
Well, just in perfect Joey fashion, when you inevitably lose power somehow because you've just spoken into existence, we will continue to wonder. Hashtag where's Joey? So we'll stay on brand.
Just found out that Joey has power.
They're all coming. They're all coming for you.
The lights aren't on. The lights aren't on upstairs, but somehow they're on in this household.
I feel that. But gentlemen, we are back, and like Tyler said, we are 1 week closer to Cubs baseball. And what a perfect way to start off the show than talking about the fact that the first spring training game is less than 4 days away. Saturday afternoon, it's a 2:05 Central Standard Time. Try saying that 10 times fast. Start. For those in the Chicagoland area, obviously our boy Juice, that's a 3:00 start for him because Indiana's weird and most of that state's in the Eastern time zone for no reason, but nonetheless. But gentlemen, I mean, what are we excited about as Cubs fans for this first game? Because going to preface this here because I want to get to all you guys. I want to know what you're excited about, right? We're all fans. This is what we're here to talk about. But not only are we excited, Ian Happ is excited. So he was on MLB Network today talking with the MLB Network crew, and he explained, he said, look, it's going to be 15,000 people at Sloan Park. It's going to be a sold out crowd. Everybody's going to be energized. It's February baseball. And he said he's playing because again, everybody remember last year, guys, I'm going to go on a little opening rant here really quick. Remember last year, guys, when all the White Sox fans were giving us shit about the hashtag it's different here because they're like, well, yeah, your roster looks different. No. It's truly different here because what team gets excited and sells out spring training games like Chicago Cubs fans, and the starters want to play on the first game? That's the difference between the Cubs and really any other team in the league, especially those fucking losers over on the South side. So, gentlemen, I want to turn it over to you guys. I want to open it up to you guys. And maybe, Nick, we'll start with you, buddy, here. What is something you're super focused on obviously we're all excited because Cubs baseball is back. You can fucking taste it. But what is something that you are specifically keying in on with this opening game of spring training coming this Saturday?
Heck yeah. Well, I mean, I'm looking forward to baseball in general. Like you said, just hearing the crack of the bat and getting back to that. There's a lot of guys out there with prove-it contracts and a lot of guys that are going to be, after it. And this weekend and moving forward, I want to see the defense, really solid defense. That's what we're betting ourselves on right now. And I want to see some power too. Like, the power wasn't there last year. We have a lot of guys that in the offseason they went and they got bigger and stronger, and I want to see more power. I mean, we're a team that can get guys on base and with a little bit more power, a little more run production. Obviously, early on with this first game, this is just guys getting comfortable, getting back into the swing of things. But a lot of guys have been there for a long time. I caught Jed on MLB TV today, and he said Belly has been there since December. So they're working hard. They're working real hard. So I'm looking forward to it.
Belly bombs. I like that, man. Hey, I totally hear that. That defense is crazy. I was actually talking with my my old man about that tonight. We were talking about how many Gold Glovers this Cubs team could potentially have this coming season. Tyler, what is something that you're looking forward to, my friend, with spring training baseball?
Like Nick said, I'm ready. I'm just ready to see everybody back in uniform. All the new guys. I'm just ready to see all of them, how they look in Cubs uniforms. Hell, it feels like we got 15 new players. And yeah, man, I just want to see like I love Ian Happ's attitude. I want to see, and I'm sure there's others just like him, just ready to go. And I want to see, which guys just take the ball day one of spring training and just rolls with it all month long into opening day. Like, I get it. Spring training for a lot of guys, oh man, there's a lot of meaningless games, but man, I just want to see which guys stay locked in all month long, just ready to go, man. But man, for the most part, I'm just ready to see everybody back in uniform, just playing ball, man.
Absolutely. Joey, what's getting you excited?
Everything. Honestly, I mean, we're just so close here that you can taste it. You could smell it. You could feel it. I'm just looking forward to everything, if we're just being honest. There's key players that you want to key in on as far as how they look in the spring training. But with that said, it's like I got really excited one year, not too long ago, for Jock Peterson, how awesome he looked in spring training. And I said, this is a guy that could potentially replace Kyle Schwarber like we thought the bat could as far as power goes. And then he got off to such a slow start in the regular season that it's like, how much can you really make of spring training in that sense? But at the same time, he ended up, having a good year that year as well, and then getting traded to the Braves. So it's like early on, the struggles are going to be there because Wrigley, it just plays that way in Chicago, and it's cold, and the hitting, I don't expect there to be a ton of power as is carrying over into Chicago, but you want to see those early signs of life. You want to see the players, the younger guys that could potentially make an impact, do something in the spring, and then see what guys are working on. Everybody's working on their own thing to improve what they did last year. They got the off-season message, the going away message or team meeting type of stuff. And then they took that into their off-season programs and did whatever they needed to do as far as get ready for this year, like Bellinger, like Nico Horner. Probably some of that talk was adding some power. Seiya looks beefed up. That's a guy I really am looking forward to seeing this spring, to see how ready to go. It seems like he's so ready to go. Yeah, and Tyler's flashing the 50 bomb piece right there. And I guess we have a punishment that I wasn't aware of. Maybe Ron, you can talk more about that. I don't know.
We'll get to that here in a little bit, but continue. Yeah, man. Hey, no, I'll tell you what. I'm with all of you guys, and I think here's the biggest, thing that I'm excited about. First and foremost, as our friend Scott Crawford says here in the comments, 855 hours until opening day as we speak, as our friend Kevin Keneally over at the Dingers Boys If you're not following them at Dinger Cubs on Twitter and Instagram, be sure to be following them. They just recorded on Monday night. It was actually a really good show. I enjoyed the hell out of it. I listened to it yesterday while I was at work. You know what I'm excited about with spring training baseball? I'm going to be super specific. And it's something I am just ready for, absolutely ready for. I'm ready for the pizza box bases. Pizza box bases are here. And why I'm excited, right? It's not because they're the size of pizza boxes. I don't give a fuck about that. It's because this Cubs team is built to run. And that's what I'm excited about. Because we saw this team last year as an inferior team to most in the MLB be really aggressive on the base paths, albeit really fucking terrible on the base paths, but really aggressive on the base paths. Now this year, you look at the guys they brought in, you look at how they revamped this roster. This is a good base running team. Very good base running team now. There's a lot of speed on the base path. Ian Happ will give you steals. Belly Bombs will give you steals. I don't know how much say I will now that he's like 20 pounds heavier of muscle and he's going to hit 50 nukes like was mentioned here. Like, I don't know how many bases he's going to steal. But aside from that, Morel's going to steal bags. Swanson's going to swipe a couple. You know what I mean? And Nico Horner's going to swipe bags. Nico Horner swiped 20 bags last year. How many bags?
Very efficiently, too.
Yeah. How many bags does he swipe this year with bigger? Does he give you 30? Does he give you 35? Who knows? But this team, it's almost such a weird combination of power and speed. And with the bigger bases, I really think that's going to play in their favor. And that's what I'm kind of excited to watch with this spring training. And purposely, I brought up Nico Horner last because this is where I wanted to transition our conversation. Let's do a little bit of Nico Horner talk because there's a lot of talk surrounding Horner in spring training, not negatively by any stretch of imagination, but the extension talks with Ricketts, and we're going to get a little more deeper into that here in a little bit. But something I saw personally was from the Just Baseball podcast. They ranked their top 10 second baseman in the league entering 2023. Nico Horner was number 5, and verbatim per their words, he should win the Gold Glove for the NL at second base because of how good he was at shortstop a year prior. And now that you add him and Swanson up the middle, guys, how excited are we about Nico Horner here? I mean, Joey, I know you said you have some thoughts, and I'm actually going to let you go first here because, again, we've been on the hashtag Where's Joey movement. We need to know what you're feeling. But what are your thoughts with Nico Horner? And then Nick and Tyler, we're going to hear from you guys as well. Just the sense of where we're at with Nico Horner right now with this Cubs team, because he's such an intriguing player on this roster. Because really, humbly, in my opinion, and I hope you guys can back me up on this, he might be one of those wild cards on the team in the sense of if he takes another step forward in 23, this team could be primed to do something special. So, Joey, we'll start with you, and then we'll go around the horn here. But what are your Nico Horner thoughts entering spring training?
Man, so I feel like, and I like that you shouted out. You did mention the Just Baseball aspect of where had him ranked, and I feel like I've been hearing this not from many. So that's like a very positive ranking there. Yeah. Because if you're not like on this show or like listening to Cub stuff regularly, or even if you are, it depends on who you're listening to or talking to on what their thoughts are about Nico Horner, potentially, at least with the bat. Like, contact wise, we know what he is. We know he can go gap to gap. As far as last year goes, will he build on that? I mean, his average actually dipped down a little bit below where it was most of the season, right? So, like where he finished out, I think it was like 281 or something like that.
Sounds right.
I mean, he hit the first home run of the season for the Cubs. We were in attendance. Hit it right over our heads.
I was getting a beer when he did it, but continue.
Oh, geez. I actually forgot about that. But nonetheless, I feel like we were a little bit of a good luck charm for the way the rest of his season went. If we weren't, we're still going to take credit for it. I do think, though, like he did some things last year where kind of went unnoticed a little bit. Like his launch angle actually went over 10% last year. His barrel rate went up a full percent. So what he needs to work on, in my opinion, it's not so much the launch angle. Maybe you'd like to still see that tick up. I think it's still below the league average as far as launch angle goes, because he is such a line drive type of hitter. And I still want him to be that type of hitter. You still want him to make a ton of contact and cut down the whiffs, which is what he's really good at. But his swing rate is relatively pretty high. And his out of zone contact, like just his out of zone contact, he was like 11th in the league among qualified hitters. So when you put those things together, right? Now, sometimes I can get a little bit nerdy here with this stuff, and we've talked about that too. But
You get nerdy? Never.
never. But Nico, so when you're making out of zone contact, it's not necessarily all the time great. And how do you increase your quality of contact? You're more selective in the zone. You're more selective at the pitches you're swinging at, which could also increase his walk rate, his on-base percentage, and his home run production. So if he gets a little bit more selective and starts barreling the ball up just a little bit more and lifting it and being taking advantage of the pitches that he wants to take advantage of, and not necessarily just slapping the ball all over the yard like he's capable of, even pitches out of the zone, we really could see the increase of Nico Hoerner's home run production, which is something that other people have talked about him potentially hitting 20 home runs. I think it's a realistic possibility, and I do think there are some people, even among local radio stations, gawking at the fact that he could be an all-star this year. Why? If he's going to potentially be in the at least runnings for Gold Glove defense at second base. He was in the runnings last year, even though he technically wasn't on the final ballot for shortstop. But he easily could have been behind Dansby Swanson.
Second and outs above average among all shortstops in baseball, only behind Dansby Swanson.
Exactly. So you carry that over to second base, which we've already seen great defense from him there in previous years before last season's kind of emergence at shortstop. You add on a little bit of power, you increase the walks. Now you're talking about a complete package hitter. You're not just talking about a line drive, gap to gap, cut down the strikeout rate, move the chains along. Nico Hoerner this season, I shouldn't say expecting a big season from and expecting that step, but I really think it's a possibility. And I definitely wanted to get those thoughts out there because I think he's going a little under the radar as far as national baseball fans go right now.
100%. And Tyler, we're going to go to you here next, and then we'll get to you, Nick. But I want to share a couple of quick little things here to confirm the fact that you nailed the fact he hit 281 last year is impressive. Well done. He did hit 281, in fact. But just quickly, just to kind of back up your argument here, in 135 games, he had 10 homers last year, 55 ribbies. He only walked 28 times, only struck out 57 times. But again, that slash line, 281, 327, 410 with a 737 OPS. So again, a guy that if he gets to like 800, 805 OPS, that's crazy for what his value is, like you said, what he brings. And as our friend Scott Crawford says here in the comments, Scott from Iowa, Nico hits plus 300 average, 15 plus bombs, 30 stolen bags. Send him ASAP because it's only going to get more expensive the longer we wait. And I don't
Agreed.
think he's entirely wrong. And Tyler, want to get to you next here, my friend. Your thoughts on Nico Hoerner entering
just to kind of bounce off what you two guys just said, especially both you guys, but Luce, you just went on with his slash line. Let me give you somebody else's slash line. It was a little bit better, but similar. 298, 343, 466. 27 stolen bases. Trey Turner.
Ooh!
Exactly. Now, granted, Trey Turner had let's see here, 21 home runs and 100 RBIs. But let's be honest, he played. Who was he with last year? Not the Dodgers, but
Dodgers.
With the Dodgers, exactly. You throw Nico Hoerner on the Dodgers in that same exact spot, you can bet he's probably going to have a little bit better numbers. But with that being said, I feel like at the end of this season, Nico will establish himself as the captain of this team, the leader of this, the MVP of this team will be Nico Hoerner if he can stay healthy all season long. Now, saying all that, I love Nico Hoerner. Let me ask you guys a question. have we like dropped the ball? Has the front office dropped the ball on an extension? And I ask that because the more I think about it, Ron, you mentioned at the very beginning when we started talking about Nico, about his versatility. He played so well at shortstop. We all talked about at the end of last year, he should have been a Gold Glove finalist at shortstop. And now Joey, with these, being the top five second, being a top five second baseman and winning the Gold Glove at second base, which he should. I wouldn't be shocked at that. With all that being said, if I'm Nico Hoerner, I feel like as soon as we signed Dansby Swanson, and this is not being selfish, this is just being smart. If I'm Nico Hoerner, the longer the Cubs take to sign an extension, A, my price is going up, and B, it's kind of like, when my contract ends, I'm just going to be 28. I'm going to be in the prime of my career. Who's to say I haven't got 2 more All-Stars, and God knows what else, maybe a Silver Slugger at second base, maybe a couple Gold Gloves. Why, if I'm Nico Hoerner, as a player, why would I want to sign an extension right now if I know when I turn 28 in 3 years, what's the shortstop market going to look like? Even though, he's probably going to play second base for the next 2 years, but if he throws in some games at shortstop over these next 3 years before his contract ends and shows, hey, I'm still just as versatile as I was when I was playing shortstop before Swanson got here, why wouldn't I just wait? Like, I know everybody keeps talking about signing an extension. I was on that train too. But now it's like the more I think about it, the more you see these interviews with Jed and Tom and all them about extensions and blah, blah, blah. We've heard that and listened to that song and dance for the past several years. I won't even go into that conversation because we've all talked about it for the last season and a half about extensions. And we've seen who we haven't extended in the past. So it's like, A, it wouldn't surprise me if we didn't extend them, even though B, we should extend them. And 3, if I'm Nico Hoerner,
you skipped C. You just went to 3.
I was gonna say I love the intermixing of numbers and letters.
if I'm Nico, if I can stay healthy, if I can prove that I can stay healthy just like I have in the past, I'm just gonna wait, because who's to say a $300 million contract in 3 years isn't a possibility for him?
I mean,
I hate saying that.
I don't disagree because of the inflation too, especially. Yeah. And I guess it really does depend.
Yeah.
It depends on the power production, right? Because you're not going to pay a guy $300 million. I don't even know what did Bogarts end up getting? I know he probably
280.
He got like
280.
Yeah.
I believe it was 280 for 11.
It maybe not, and maybe it's not a $300 million. I'm just saying that just because who knows what the market is in 3 years. But
sure.
Like, let's say he has a 30 stolen base year this year and 15 plus home runs. Let's say he steals 30 more bases the next year and does the same thing and maybe throw in a 20 plus home run year right there. Like,
and it's different types of players too.
Do that money, yeah.
It's different types of players. Like Bogarts isn't really a base stealer. He's not the greatest defender.
Not at this point in his career, no.
No. So like, it's totally plausible that could be the case. And that's really what the most infuriating part to me this offseason, because going into it, I remember sitting on here on the show talking with you guys, and I said, what is the thing you're looking for, you want done this offseason? A Nico Hoerner extension, because I felt pretty good about them getting one of those shortstops, and I felt pretty good that they had all this money to spend. So now you didn't accomplish that, at least from what it looks like now, and we've all kind of seen how it goes once spring training starts. They don't tend to do these extensions once baseball starts.
No.
It just doesn't happen with the Cubs, at least in recent years. So I don't know. I don't want the and it could be like you said, Tyler, it could be like a bank on yourself type of situation for Hoerner, right? Like, he knows he's got talent. He knows maybe there's still some to unlock, especially if he was told certain instructions to go into the offseason and start working on to increase that power. What the fuck would make sense for him to, if I can stay healthy and I'm going to put this power on, why would I do that? It makes no sense for him. So, yeah.
Well, and
unless it's like an astronomical number that he just can't say no to.
Well, and I think the key to that is staying healthy. And I think that's where a lot of guys maybe struggle, right? Just MLB wide about like signing an extension early versus getting to that free agency year because, right, you look at like what the Braves do. Like that, they're the kings of just get guys on a friendly team number. You get a lot of talent together, but then you're competitive for a long time, and that's great. And I think a lot of those guys that resonates with them too. But in the same breath, right? Like there was rumors and things coming out over the last 3-4 days about Wilson Contreras, and that the Cubs offered him an extension after the 18 season for I think it was 5 years, and it wasn't a ton of money, but had he taken it, he would have made more money with the Cubs getting to free agency now like he did than he actually did. So it's like it's this weird give and take with players. And I think with Hoerner, like the biggest thing that people have to remember is he is only 25. Like I think a lot of people like lose sight of that is like, oh, how old is he? Like, what does he do? Yes, thank you, Jeremiah. He says 6 for 24. And I believe it was technically maybe it was 5 for 24, but I think there was option years included in that as well. That could have made it 6 for like maybe 35, I think, or something like that. So something in that ballpark. But nonetheless,
so he didn't like the extra carriage on that deal then, because buying out the odd years and paying him more than he actually ended up making during that time makes a lot of sense for the player. But then when you start talking, so he pretty much banked on himself then too.
Yeah, and I mean, and he got it. He got it just not from the Cubs. He got it from the fucking shitbags down south. That is, as Tyler very, just beautifully, masterfully still did. If you
drove up 65,
yeah. If that's exactly where I was going with this. If you listen to Cubs on Tap regularly and like need a good laugh in your day, just go back to the episode when Tyler cuts the Chip Carey promo because that shit was, honest to God, I have not cried and laughed as hard ever on this show as I did that night after that because that was absolutely bloody hysterical. I still go back and listen to it when I need a laugh. I go back and listen to that. But Nick, I want to hear from you too, brother, because right, we're sitting here talking about Nico, and he is such an interesting player because he's only 25 years old. He's showing increases in power. He's showing the growth that you want to see. He does steal bags. He plays elite defense. What are your thoughts, I guess, on this entire situation? Because again, this is a legit debate. Can you get him for a team-friendly number now and keep him around for the long haul? Or is he just going to continue to get better and potentially price himself out from the Cubs like we have seen in the past that some of these guys have done?
Sure, yeah. Well, I mean, I think the Cubs made a major mistake in not doing the extension now. And part of the reason is exactly what you guys were saying. His ceiling, he has so much more room for growth. And he's been a player that has proven himself to be, he could potentially by the end of this season be the star for the Chicago Cubs. He could be that guy. And like you said, the price is just going to keep going up on him. Right now, he's a guy that hits the ball all over the field. He's fast. He's definitely got that Gold Glove caliber defense. What he's got to work on is exactly what Joey said, is barrel rate. He's got to barrel up the ball. And it was interesting to find out that he's making a lot of outside the zone contact because he does swing a lot. And with the barreling up the ball, it's going to come power, and with power, it's going to prove results for him. So, yeah.
With great power comes great responsibility, Nick. I'm right there with you, my friend. And maybe this is where we adjust, right? Because we're talking Nico, and Nico's going to be fascinating. I think we're all going to follow the Nico story the whole time. For example, friend of the program, good friend of the program as well, Rachel from UK Cubs, in her trip to Chicago, bought a Nico Hoerner jersey. Like, the love for Nico is very apparent in Chicago. But another guy that is very loved in Chicago that I think is going to continue getting loved even more this season is one Seiya Suzuki. And I know we've all discussed and had thoughts about Seiya. And this is a two-pronged approach with the Seiya conversation here. Is he looks like a fucking unit, by the way. I think we've touched on that a little bit here, but not a terrible amount. But that dude looks like he could fucking bench my fat ass. And on top of it, he's out there fucking pitching for the Cubs, trying to get Shohei Ohtani to be on the north side next season. He's invited him, as the literal translation is from his translator, to join the Chicago Cubs in 2024. I mean, guys, Seiya is such an interesting personality entering this season, right? Because again, there is that Japanese connection with Shohei Ohtani, which is clearly on the table for the Cubs. If anybody doesn't think that conversation hasn't been had in the Cubs front office at least once, you're lying to yourself. Truthfully, you're lying to yourself. They've absolutely had that conversation. They know damn well that Shohei and Seiya are know each other, they're buddies, whatever. They have that Japanese connection. On top of that, Seiya Suzuki has come in looking like, again, a fucking unit this spring training, which terrifies me, which also should terrify Joey, because I just, you know the drinking game. We're hashtag crack 'em around here in these parts at On Tab Sports. Now, you guys know the drinking game, right? Connections, where like you got to pick people to drink with you when certain cards come up and stuff. Yeah. I played that game with Joey immediately because it's bad enough I already got to do something by myself, as my little tagline here kind of suggests, and we'll get to that later in the show. But like I said, if he hits 50 bombs, I might do some silly shit for the camera. He looks like he can hit 50 bombs because he put on like 20 pounds of muscle and he looks like an absolute unit. So, guys, this is where I want to open up the floor. Nick, I want to give you the floor first. Seiya Suzuki, what are we expecting from arguably the 1A signing of last season, maybe to Marcus Stroman for the Cubs? What are we expecting from this guy here in year two on the north side?
Yeah. I mean, I'm expecting the way he looked when he first came in. He was very comfortable. He was oddly comfortable. You know, a lot of guys will come in and sometimes they'll look really good, but some guys just, they don't get it. And especially coming from a different country, he looked comfortable right away. And what happened was, I think he lost his confidence a little bit. What he needs to work on is maintaining that good eye that he has. Because when he is selective with his pitches and he picks out the one that he wants, he drives it. And we're going to really rely on him for power because we've talked about it. We're seeing if guys will have more power than they did last season, which we're going to need that power. And Seiya is that guy. So I want to see him take that leap of consistency. I want to see him be able to put consistent plate approaches and just go out there and get on base more. But throughout the season too, he talked about how part of putting on that muscle was that just the 162 games, that the toll that it takes on your body, he wasn't used to the full amount. So just that, I want to see him just be able to get through, stay healthy, and definitely see the power come back, hit 50 bombs. So Joey has to do some crazy stuff.
Hey, I got to do that crazy stuff too, Nick. So just remember that. But before,
the problem is, I don't know what we're doing because Ron's just going to decide.
I don't know what we're doing either. It's just going to be stupid decisions. I don't know. It's probably going to come when we're like at a Cubs game and we've had a couple beers, and I'm going to be like, you know what we should do, Joey? And then as soon as you hear that, you know it's not going to be.
We'll figure it
go
out.
streaking on the field.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. The opening day trip, we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. But really quick, Tyler and Joey, before we get to you guys here, kind of to Nick's point, right? He mentioned Seiya's eye and that elite eye for the strike zone. This is from @Balls K Walk. He's just Brad on Twitter, but he does so much good stuff with statistics and things, and it's a fun account to follow. If you don't follow him, go follow him. But he said, looking at Seiya's savant profile and realizing the only thing holding him back from being a star hitter is the umpires, and here's why. And he called it out. His whiff percentage is in the 60th percentile in MLB baseball, which means it's like it's good. Like, he doesn't whiff a lot. It's not happening often. You know, he's not in like the 16th percentile, because if he's there, it means he's whiffing on everything, right? He's in the 60th percentile. The higher the number in this case, the better. In K percentage, he's the 27th percentile. That's hella good. He doesn't strike out a lot, just in general.
No, that was bad, Ron. That's bad. 27%.
Yes, that's bad. Sorry, you're right. He strikes out a lot. The reason being, though, it's not because he whiffs and he doesn't chase. He's 90th percentile in chase rate. Literally what fucks him over are the umpires. And we saw it. Joey and Tyler, you guys can attest to this because you guys did the marathon sprint with us last year on these shows. How often did we bitch about Seiya Suzuki striking out on a called strike 3? That wasn't a strike. That wasn't a strike. Like, could
Nightly,
you imagine?
almost.
Yes. Could you imagine if this guy gets just decent umpiring for the entire season and he put on 20 pounds of muscle? Joey, you and I might be streaking down Clark, just doing stupid shit. I don't know. It might happen. Because guess what? If he hits 50 bombs, this team's going fucking far. But I digress. I collect myself. Joey, Tyler, I'm going to open it up to you guys here. Maybe Joey you've talked enough, Joey. We'll start with Tyler. Tyler, what do you got for us? Because you're the one that brought up in our pre-show about Seiya. So
Fair. I've got a long dialogue too, so Tyler going first.
Look, like Nick, you hit the nail on the coffin, man. Like his eye, dude. Like when he started off last year, first month of the season, 405 on base percentage, a 934 OPS. Like the dude, was having quality. But I'll be honest, when at the beginning of the year, I didn't have high expectations for him. I was like, well, he's probably going to have a difficult time adjusting, and maybe in the second half of the season he'll figure it out. But dude, came up right off the bat and just killed it. As far as just quality at bats. If he could do that, and I think a lot of it last year was, I don't think he was the same guy after that first injury he had. I think what was it? It was a wrist. I think he had a wrist injury, maybe.
I think it was a finger, if I remember.
A finger injury, something. I don't think I just, and I'm no expert, but just nagging injuries throughout the season can just kill you. Especially with hitting, even people just think, oh, it's just a finger injury, and that can affect you just all season long. At least whenever I want to say it was maybe he got hurt in June or whatever, but man, I know we talk about 50 home runs and all that, and yeah, it'd be awesome to see 50 home runs, but seriously, it would shock me if he hit 30 home runs. But I want to see him. As far as defensively, he had his moments last year where he definitely wasn't a liability in the field, but he had a couple of moments where maybe he seemed just the adjustment, maybe if he could improve that just a little bit. But man, I've got high expectations for him. I know it seems like I joke a lot and everything about Seiya on Twitter and stuff, but no, man, if he can stay healthy, dude, anything like last year, if he could just come out of the gate like last year, and that's a big if, but for a guy that's entering his second season, the sky's the limit for this dude, and we might see Joey doing something crazy at the end of the year.
100%. I love that you're the only one getting called out on this, Joey. I might totally slide out on you if people just continue to focus on you doing it.
Scott's sending me off to the right field bleachers by myself.
Apparently, it's just you. It's not me. It's just you getting sent to the right field bleachers. I don't even know, but just what do you got for us, Joey?
So I'm glad that Tyler brought up the defense, because that's basically, I had an entire thread written up last night, and I was going to tweet out, and I'm like, you know what? No, we're going to save it. We're going to put it on the show. So here we go. And I'm not going to sit here. I'm not going to sit here and read it verbatim, but I'm going to look at my notes here as I talk. Tyler was talking about the defense. I'll start, though, with the offense. Every projection system on Fangraphs has Seiya Suzuki as the highest WRC plus projected for any Cub this upcoming season. And you can see that ranging. I think the highest was 135. WRC plus was the highest. And I think that was Zips DC. And I think maybe Zips as well. DC takes into account depth chart and playing time. So that's what DC is. Zips, it's Dan. I'm gonna screw up his name, but the guy from Fangraphs does that projection system. Yet, here's the key though, and this is where Tyler's point comes in here too. They're really knocking him for his defense. -4 defensive run saved and a -4 outs above average last year. His overall F4 isn't projecting that high. I think that's flawed, if we're being honest, because of how tough Wrigley right field is. And he was a rookie. So taking all that into consideration, coming from overseas, again, I mean, I'd expect him to progress not only at the plate but in the field. And projection systems, like, they're a nice tool. And I think we've talked about this many times, or at least I have. They're a nice tool. They're not the end all be all. Like, rarely do players hit their exact projection. So, like, that's why they're the tool and not the, like, you can't take it for what it's worth and say this is what a player is going to do this upcoming season, because then there's injury factors. There's a number of different things. The Cubs likely won't hit whatever their win total projection you're seeing is. And their over-under right now is set at, 77.5. Projections have a hard time, or rarely attempt, in my opinion. I think they do try to attempt this, but it doesn't seem like there's a very good way of going about it. In a lot of cases, projecting progression or regression, because undoubtedly there's going to be a player or two that regresses as well as the players that progress, right? And the Cubs might be in a weird spot where they have more players progressing because of the youth on this team. But you're going to see some guys have, come down seasons as well. And it's just not going to be predictable to the point. And what's the gap, really? Like, when you look at win total projections. So how many players progress compared to how many players regress is probably where you're going to see the biggest increase or decrease in wins for the upcoming season. Then you take into account the player additions, player subtractions, that number of things. My translation on the opinion, or for this anyways, Cubs have a lot of turnover, right? Like, many young players. So like I said, I mean, a healthier club, more experience, that all it needs to be taken into consideration. Seiya included. You talked about the injury. Makes a big difference. You take a look at Seiya's fielding coming over from Japan. 5 Gold Gloves? Like, comparing him, all of a sudden he's a negative defensive player. I don't buy it. Like, I'm looking at the players that came over from Japan recent years. A Fangraphs chart came up with this. Shohei Ohtani, 16, 17. He had, so looking at his defense fielding, minus, he was a negative, and then he was barely a positive 0.2. You had Satsugo over there with minus 16.7. Shogo Akiyama, who couldn't figure out the plate at, in the MLB anyways. He was a negative defensively. Seiya Suzuki in Japan, his 2021 season before coming over, positive 11.2 fielding as far as defensive above replacement, or the fielding metrics there. So now you look at this. Of the 7 listed projection systems on Fangraphs, Seiya is predicted anywhere between -7 to -10.1 defensive runs above average. That's kind of like a basic generic type of capture all defensive metric for Fangraphs. He finished -3.7 in that department last year. So now we're projecting him to get even worse with age and he's only 28. How does he get worse when he was a Gold Glover coming over from Japan? The guy is only 28, like I said, 82nd percentile arm strength. Zips DC is the highest on Seiya with a 135 WRC plus, mentioned that, and 3.4 F4. But the lowest defensively on him, -10.1, like I said. Since I definitely think his defensive projections are bullshit, I'd absolutely slam the over on his average projected 3.0 F4. Bold, maybe, but Seiya is at least a 4.0 F4 player. That's just my opinion. I'd also hammer the over on the Cubs win total. So maybe I'm a homer, but that's just what I'm thinking with Seiya.
Well
can't
done.
predict this stuff.
I think everything you had to leave out should go in an article, but that's just my humble opinion here. But dude, honestly, you bring up so many good points, and I'm glad you both brought up the defensive aspect of Seiya, because I feel like everybody's like, oh, Seiya. Again, this dude won multiple Gold Gloves in Japan. Like, you don't win multiple Gold Gloves in any league and then become a dog shit defender. Like, that doesn't happen. Wrigley Field's right field is hard. It's very hard. You're staring into the sun half the fucking time. Again, there was a reason Jason Hayward was here to mentor Seiya last season, because right field is a fucking bitch at Wrigley Field. It really is. It is not fun. There's, honest to God, besides the fact that right field sucks, I don't sit in right field because I don't like being blinded for 90% of the fucking game. It's awful. It's miserable. It sucks. It's not fun to play. But guess what? Somebody's got to do it, and it's going to be Seiya. I agree with you, Joey. I cannot fathom a world where he gets worse defensively after a year of transition to the big leagues. I really don't. So, dude, honestly, again, round of applause. That is a hell of a rant about Seiya Suzuki going into the season. But speaking of things that maybe deserve rants and maybe don't deserve rants, because we're already at 45 minutes in the show. We got a couple other things we need to talk about.
I spent quite a while. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Hey, we got good thoughts here. This is why this show's fun. It's off season. We can rant for an hour and a half and it's still acceptable. But guys, there's a big question mark on this team, and it's not in the field by any means. As a matter of fact, it's in the rotation. Because we know 80% of the rotation at this point, right? Drew Smyly, he's back. He's back, baby. He's back. I kind of like Drew. I'm actually excited about Drew coming back. But Drew Smyly's back. Obviously, we got Stroh. We got friend of the program and a fucking beauty. I can't wait. Cannot wait to chug beers with this guy in Wrigley at some point this season. Our friend Justin Steele. And you got Stroh Show in the rotation, all ready to roll. They're there, baby. They're there and ready to go. And you got Taillon. You got Jameson Taillon. I said Stroh twice. I just realized that now. I'm that excited about Stroh this year because he's actually got defensive catchers. Not a shot at Willie. I'm just saying he's got defensive catchers. He's going to be healthy, I hope. It's going to be great. You got 4 legitimate starters. Everybody's penciled in at this point. But that fifth spot, it's a bit of a question mark. And it's been a big topic in this spring training. 3 internal candidates have been identified. There's a host of guys that are invites, which none of us are even going to try to attempt to break down because there's a lot of names on that invitation list. But the big 3, right? We've got Adrian Sampson, who we saw quite a bit of last season. Had a good year, all things considered. Javier Assad, who I think surprised a lot of people, even though Joey, I think I was at his first start. I remember that. And then I think we didn't see him get lit up. We were at the Stroh Cardinals start.
I was at the Cardinals
Stroh
Assad too. Doubleheader.
Yes, that's right. Assad was that game. Okay. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
You were in the bleachers. I wasn't sitting with you, but yeah. We met up and then we went to the nightcap.
Absolutely. So Javier Assad, he's in the conversation for that spot. And then probably the favorite, if I had a guess amongst the 4 of us, is Hayden Wesneski for that 5th spot. So this is where I want to open the conversation. It's not even, I'm not going to pick anybody to talk. You guys take the mic as you want it. Who's your pick? Who's your dark horse? Give us something spicy with this fifth starter conversation. Because again, it is a very hot topic right now, not only in Cubs spring training, but in Cubs Twitter as well.
Well, obviously, you can make the argument the 3 main guys that Ross announced between Sampson, Assad, and Wesneski. You can make the argument that all 3 of them could be the 5th starter. Like they showed moments last year of just like huge potential for 2023. I mean, hell, Assad, to be honest, Assad was kind of like out of nowhere, and it was one of those things we talked about last year. Like I think Ron, you joked about it. Like one of his first starts was like, I need 5 innings from Assad, and then his next start, if I could just get 5 innings from Assad, and he kept doing it. Out of the 3, Sampson obviously pitched the most last year. I wouldn't be shocked if Sampson got it, but if I'm just picking out of the 3 who I want to see, it's obviously Wesneski, man. Like just in the short amount of time that he was up last year in the 4 start, he had 6 appearances, 4 starts. Dude, just the stuff he showed in the small amount of time, man, just I don't know. I would love to see a full season of him, but at the end of the day, it wouldn't shock me if they let Wesneski start the season off in AAA or whatever, and Sampson was the 5th starter.
I dig it. I dig it, gentlemen. Nick, what do you got for us?
Yeah, I definitely think Wisniewski would be my pick for that spot. Like Tyler said, I think it's more plausible they start him in AAA. Adrian Sampson definitely showed promise to be able to take that spot, and those other two guys as well. Definitely Assad. I would like to see more from Assad this year and see him out there in more opportunities, and I think that there's potential for growth there. You could always rotate that fifth spot, so there's that. But Wisniewski would be who you'd want to see there. I mean, like you said, with that little bit we got to see him, I was excited. I got excited every time I saw that he was pitching, so that would be my pick.
That's fair. Joey, what do you got for us, my man?
I agree with both of these guys, man. I think Wisniewski's the guy we obviously want to see, and we think we see the most potential out of. He's the highest ranked Cubs prospect out of those guys. I mean, Sampson wasn't even on anybody's list, and neither was Assad, like you said, kind of came out of nowhere last year. So, not to limit Assad or Sampson, because it seemed like Sampson really figured something out last year too. But I would prefer to be Wisniewski. My only thing is here, I don't know how many innings they're going to want to really max out with Wisniewski. So I could see him potentially starting out of the rotation and maybe being like a 2 to 3 inning bullpen guy. And then kind of coming in at the rotation even around May or so. And then that brings in the possibility of when's Hendricks coming back. He could be coming back in like May or so. We don't really know. So it's like, and Scott mentions it right here. Yeah, Hendricks is still hanging back, getting healthy. So I guess it's a long-winded answer of saying I have no fucking idea what they're going to do with that with that fifth spot. But I'm not going to be mad at really any of the options because I think they're all serviceable or good enough as is. I guess my preference would be ranking-wise, Wisniewski, Sampson, and then Assad in the bullpen and Sampson in the bullpen. But I could easily see it starting out as Sampson and Wisniewski and Assad in the bullpen.
It's a good problem to have.
It's a great problem, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Definitely.
Yes, it is. Yeah, and I'm going to echo probably what you guys all think, and I'm going to do this as quickly as I humanly can because we want to get to other topics here. But I think ultimately the favorite's probably Wisniewski, right? We've seen this stuff. He had an immaculate inning last year. This guy was fucking lights out when he was on the mound. He's got that bulldog mentality. He's got that weird fucking tongue out breathing thing on the mound. Like I like everything about him. He's weird. He's off topic, but again, he gets shit done. And he produces, and that's exactly what we want out of a fifth starter, especially on this Cubs team. Again, and Wisniewski is probably the future, right? This is the guy that I think all of us are penciling in 2024 as a starter in this Cubs rotation. But I'm going to add to the fact that Sampson has arguably earned the right? I think a 3.11 ERA last year. Like, he was really good every time he was called upon. But to me, he strikes me as that long relief guy, right? Out of the pen. Like, he's going to come in. He's going to give you, 3, 4, 5 innings. Maybe if a starter only goes 5, he's that guy that can come in and give you 3 to 4 to get you to the last bit of the pen, etc. So who knows what's going to happen there. But my dark horse, just really quick, is Assad. And here's why. He struggled with command, and I'm going to call out an article that our new writer, Ryan Sykes, wrote here for us at On Tap Sports. And if you aren't following him yet, please go do, because, God, he's just such a good writer. I enjoy reading his shit. But he wrote about it. He said, look, Assad struggled with his command. He walked a lot of guys last year, but he still got shit done. He got through 5 a lot. He got through as many, I believe, as 7, if I remember correctly, at one point. Like, he got a lot done with walking a lot of dudes. If he took the offseason to work on his command a little bit and he shows better command this season, he's going to make it a hell of a hard choice for David Ross to pick between him and Sampson and Wisniewski. And I think that's great. Again, echoing Tyler's words, it's a great problem to have when you have too many talented arms where you got to figure shit out. Like, you would rather be in that position than the white sucks on the other side of town, who, if Clevenger, Lynn, and Clevenger might not even pitch this season because apparently he's a piece of shit, but Clevenger, Lynn, Cease, Kopech, and Giolito, if any 5 of them go down, you got what? Davis Martin, is your next
Who?
guy up to take starting innings away from other guys? Like the Cubs don't have that problem. They have 9 guys that can start for this team. That's a great problem to have, and that's where I stand as well. And again, we talked about it as Scott mentioned in the comments. And Hendricks is waiting in the wings. He's probably going to be back by May, which I think is going to make the whole situation even more chaotic because if he's truly healthy, we know what Kyle Hendricks is when he's truly healthy. And speaking of healthy, something healthy for this Cubs team, and I think something healthy for our own psyches, is the idea of extensions. And we can just talk very, very quickly on this because I think we alluded to it a little bit during our Nico Hoerner conversation. But Tom Ricketts spoke to the media. I don't think Tom's very, very comfortable being a public speaker. That's what I've gathered over the last 3.5 months, especially at CubsCon and many other things. But he mentioned some extension talks, and he says, yes, we'd like to get extensions done with certain guys. We can all sit here and infer that's probably Hoerner and Happ. And he says, hey, if it's done, great. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. And I think it was taken a lot out of context. And I think some radio personalities in Chicago agreed with that, as at least I heard when I was driving into the old office on Tuesday morning and I'm listening in. But I really think at this point, like, the Cubs understand what the extension process is like because of what happened with Baez and with Rizzo and with Bryant and all these guys that have now moved on and now are just a gleaming beacon of light in this team's history. Like, extensions are hard. Not every team gets it done. Not everybody's the Atlanta Braves and extends everybody because it's tough. It's tough to agree on a contract extension. Again, it's a law-abiding agreement effectively with these guys, right? Like, this is their livelihood that you're talking here. So it's not easy to get extensions done. And this is, again, I'm going to open up the panel again to everybody. This is first come, first serve. It's the Wednesday night buffet right now, talking extensions here with you guys. Because what are your guys' thoughts here on the extension talk, especially with guys like Hoerner and Happ, who are very much at the forefront of the conversation here? Do we think they get done? Do we think they wait? I know we really heavily alluded to Hoerner. Maybe like this guy probably waits because he is going to get better and better and better. Happ is probably a little different because he is a free agent after this coming season. So I want to know where your guys' heads are with this whole extension idea. Obviously, again, Ricketts probably not the best person to talk on this. It should be Jed talking on this because that's ultimately the guy that's getting this shit done. Tom's just the one signing off on the paychecks at the end of the day. But I want to hear your guys' thoughts here at what's at stake here with these possible extension talks. Again, especially for guys like Nico Hoerner and Ian Happ.
When like you said, when Tom starts, I've got to the point when Tom Ricketts starts talking about extensions and baseball operations type stuff. I try not to listen too hard into it. Because like you said, if Jed said it, that'd be one thing. I mean, hell, like even in his interview, once again, I'm not trying to look too far into it, but like he made the comment about, we've got, guys on the farm to, right behind them and yada, yada. And I don't know who was asking the question, but they were basically like, and who are those people? And he was just like, well, ask Jed. So it's like, okay, cool, man. Yeah, like he's saying what you want to hear as far as like, obviously we want to get them done and all that. But no, like the longer these past few years has shown everybody a lot as far as the contract extension, contract signing process, like, as far as getting deals done, the difficulty of getting deals done, especially during the season. We just talked about it with Nico. Like, most players don't want to deal with that shit as soon as the season starts. I've got to the point where when teams don't extend players, I used to be the type of like, just a few years ago, why didn't we extend these guys? Like, why didn't they extend them? Blah, blah, blah. Like, I think a lot of times we forget that it's also it's not just the front office, it's the players' decision as well. I think we often forget that, hey, maybe they didn't want to sign here. Maybe they didn't want to extend here. Maybe they want to wait just a little bit longer. Once again, back to Nico. Maybe they want to see how much. I mean, look at Manny Machado. He just told the Padres, I'm opting out at the end of this year. he didn't say this part, but AKA, there's a shitload of money out there that I'm going to try to get. So like I said, I used to be the type of like, just, damn it, what did we do wrong to not extend this guy? And more now I'm like, okay, I can understand why, why this, because it's not just the owner. It's also the majority of it is the player, like just making his decision as far as what he wants to do. So back to Ricketts, him saying that, like I said, I just let it go in one ear and out the other. It's one thing when he says it, but I think once again, it's different when Jed says it. Obviously, I'd like to see Nico Horner sign an extension. I like to see a lot of guys on this team sign an extension, but at the end of the day, it's a business.
100%. Well said. Well said. Nick, what do you got for us?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you got to take Tom Ricketts' comments with a grain of salt, like you said. I think it depends on what direction you're going with the baseball team. So if you're Jed and you think, well, I'm going to build around these guys, I want Happ as a corner piece, I want Horner as a corner piece, well, then you better do it now, because these guys, if you want the best, which is that they get better and give you better results this season, which is obviously what everyone wants, then you're going to pay for it at the end of the season. I mean, the better they get, the higher, the contract's going to be. And you guys alluded to it. There's a lot of money out there. The market's crazy right now. So guys that weren't going to be making the big money in the back of their heads might be going, maybe I bet on myself. Maybe I do that. So if you're Jed and you have in mind, I want this guy, then this offseason, if it didn't get done, which it looks like it's not going to, that was a sort of a fail on his part. But it just depends on what direction you want to go with the team. But Ricketts, I always take all his comments with a grain of salt.
Yeah, I'm also in that same camp. Nick, Joey, what do you have for us, my man?
I mean, I'm glad that you guys pointed out the fact that it's two sides to every story, right? Like it's the player and it's, the person in negotiation talks on both sides, right? So the Cubs would be dumb, just like any other team would be dumb, to hurt themselves in negotiations. So like public comments, like saying, that's why he didn't mention the players' names, right? And as much as I want to see Nico Horner, and you can even toss Happ into that discussion as well, even though the outfield depth is looking pretty good in the minors. As much as I want to see those guys extended, they're not going to try to hurt themselves. Like getting a good deal out of this, if you're the Cubs, is still number one, right? Like getting a good player for a good price is the reason why you're trying to extend them early before he hits that free agent market. So whatever the worth is, now the part I think a lot of Cubs fans, and I'm going to tie this back and try to encapsulate the feeling behind Cubs fans, I guess. The problem that I think a lot of people are having is, why is that reason that players, if they don't want to sign here, right? Now, we don't know what the dollar amounts are. We don't know what the years are. We don't know what they're thinking they're worth later on. But if they don't want to sign here or get extended here, why is that? And I think that's the biggest problem with Cubs fans are having when they're trying to deal with this is there a problem within the organization that's keeping them from signing here long term? And I would say to that, no, I don't think that there is, but I have nothing to really base that off of because of the negative outlook that's looked upon the recent players that we traded away, right? Now, you also kind of look at it two different ways because all those players were a part of something monumental. We wanted statues built for all those players that did what they did from that 2016, 2015 through 2019 run, 2020 run even, if you want to talk about making the postseason. Like those players meant a little something different. And I will say this, as much as I love them, there might have been a little bit of like high horse mentality there, right? Like I know what I'm worth and you're going to pay me no matter what because of what we did for this city. And some people will say, they'll respond to that and say, well, yeah, fucking pay them. Just keep them here. They should retire Cubs, blah, blah, blah. But there is that business element to it that says, you know what, we're not going to pay you more than what we value moving forward, because we're trying to build a good, consistent, and that's something Ricketts had mentioned, consistent club moving forward that's in contention every year. And he's not against, he said, going above the payroll or luxury tax for like a 1 to 2 year kind of stretch. But then you hit that third year, you start dealing with all these problems and, you know, the fines and the penalties behind that. So I thought this would have been a decent year to do that, to go over the tax. But at the same time, you look at the 1 year deals they signed, and there's a bunch going off the books. And when they really are serious about contending, which we hope it's this year, but they're going to have the ability to do so. So, I mean, to answer the question, I guess I'm not like saddened by it, but I'm not like disappointed. I am a little bit disappointed that Hoerner hasn't been extended, but I'm not like freaking out over it right now.
I think that's fair. I think we're all at that point, to be entirely truthful, at least a little bit, right? Like Tom speaks, we all kind of like, all right, what's really happening? What's really going on? Do we really know? So absolutely agree with you there. And again, I mean, Shohei's coming because Seiya is recruiting him. So if they're going to spend over that luxury tax, it's going to be next year, right? So let's keep that in mind. But guys, 2 more topics before we kind of start to wrap up and get to all of our final thoughts. I'm just going to skim over these really quickly. I don't think there's a lot of debate here. I just think it's interesting. And if anybody's got quick little one hitters, please let me know. Top 100 Fangraphs came out for prospects. 4 Cubs made it. Probably not the 4 that you expected. Obviously, PCA was number 1. He was actually number 14 overall, which is certainly saying, again, when people are, oh, these Cubs don't have an elite prospect in their, you know, blah, blah, blah. Clearly they do, at least according to Fangraphs. That guy is PCA. But then on top of it, you have the Jaguar, Kevin Alcantara. He is number 2 on that list for the Cubs in the top 100. Hayden Wesneski actually making that list. I believe he came in about 88, if I remember correctly. And then Christian Hernandez. So no Brennan Davis in that top 4. So it's something interesting. Again, I think, you know, something we're all monitoring. I think Brennan Davis's name, because of the injury, a big reason why he might have slipped off that list a little bit, but certainly want to put that out into the universe with those guys. And I think something that we'll probably return to here on a future episode as well, because that's certainly going to be a hot topic and debate. But again, more newsworthy piece that I do want us to get to here before we close things down is the Edwin Rios signing. Kind of came out of left field. A lot of people don't know a ton about him. Left-handed bat, third baseman, plays a little bit of first. Came from the Dodgers. Cubs give him a major league contract. Everybody's like, okay, cool. This is quote-unquote such a needle mover, obviously with huge sarcasm and eye rolling. But I feel like everybody, at least from what I've seen, has been semi-positive because the numbers suggest he's a left-handed version of Patrick Wisdom, which might not be the worst thing in the world, especially for what they got him for. So this is where I want to, again, reopen the conversation to you guys here and let you guys spew off. Joey, maybe we'll start with you. If you got some numbers ready for us? I know you got some nerd numbers ready. We're just going to start a hashtag nerd numbers section of this show at some point here for just you, Joey. But what do you got for us when it comes to Rios and his signing with the Cubs?
Yeah, I mean, that'd be all right with me if you want to just like insert that randomly. We'll just kind of do like a little segment there. But dude, honestly, yeah, there's a lot of similarities in the profiles there just from a left-handed standpoint. But remember, this guy actually has not played very many major league games. He just really hasn't gotten that much experience, but he did come up big for the Dodgers in 2020. World Series winner, NLCS. He had the 2 home runs against the Braves in that 2020 NLCS. He's had some moments. He definitely has the power. The barrel rate is, Wisdom-like. And I know there's like people that are saying, well, why wouldn't you give that opportunity at third base to Christopher Morel because of his profile and being so young and going from AA to the bigs like directly and just the flashes he's shown. I like him in that kind of swing role where he can play all over. I wouldn't mind seeing him in more of a regular third base role, but you do have the potential here with the lefty-righty kind of split between those 3 guys those three guys have all similar profiles if you're just looking at what Morrell did last year. Very similar profiles. They're all basically identical when it comes to, not identical, but barrel rates and whiff rates and strikeout rates. And you go down the list and it's like, they're all kind of the same. Who's taking that step? Who's regressing? We kind of talked about it earlier. I like the signing. We'll just see what happens.
Well said. Well said. Tyler, what are your thoughts on the situation?
I agree. I like it. I'm a little familiar with Edwin Rios just because MLB The Show, I believe it was either 2020 or 2021. He was a Player of the Month Diamond, and so I used to play with him a lot. And I would always when I do franchise, I always get bored in the winter, like when the two games, like when one game's finishing and the next one's coming out. So I'll get bored and play franchise and try to figure out how to fix the Cubs. And Edwin Rios was one of the guys I'd get because his power was so high. But yeah, the dude has power potential. He's just, to be honest, he's never really got a chance to play a whole lot of games just because he was on a stacked Dodgers team. But Joey, like you said, the guy showed up in 2020. You can say whatever you want about 2020, but he showed up and helped the Dodgers in the playoffs, helped them in the NLCS. I think he got a couple at bats in the World Series, but either way, he helped the team win the World Series. And yeah, it'll just be interesting to see where he plugs in as far as at third base, because you've got, like y'all said, you've got Morrell, Wisdom. And another thing, just thinking about all that, is who, out of all these guys between Morrell, Wisdom, Hosmer, Mancini, I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody, somebody's getting, and then, thinking about Magical, all these guys, it just makes you wonder who's not making the opening day roster. Or do we see a guy get traded? Do we see a Patrick Wisdom get traded? Just throwing that name out there. I'm a Patrick Wisdom supporter, so I'm not trying to, call for him to get traded. But yeah, it'll just be interesting to see what happens. But once again, like we talked about with the fifth starter spot, it's a good problem to have.
Yep. I was gonna say it's a great problem to have, and it doesn't hurt to have more depth at any position. But I like that these guys are playing with contracts with opportunity. He came up big in 2020. That's where I remember Edwin Rios the most, is the playoffs, and to fall off like he did, he's coming in with a lot to prove. And when you have guys that have a lot to prove and potential, sometimes they end up being that guy. And it's just funny that we end up having so much depth now, and it's a great problem to have.
Yeah, I'll go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're good. I was kind of just gonna repeat your point, Tyler, of it's the depth. What Nick just said. How many of these guys are either gonna get cut, sent to minors, or just DFA'd? It's becoming a great problem, just like the rotation, but you kind of start to wonder there too. I mean, there's so many guys that there's only so many spots. I mean, it's great to have the depth and the flexibility, but how many of these guys are going to be here? And that's something that I would not really like to be. We talk all the time about, or we have talked about, you pretty much know who's who and who's what. But this Cubs team, to me, they have so many different question marks. I would hate to be David Ross in this situation this year.
The Rio signing basically just basically says, hey, we're having a competition at third base this year in spring training. I know we talked about it last episode about what are we looking forward to in spring training, and yeah, a lot of guys just come to get their reps in, but who knows? Maybe there is a legit competition at third base, who's taking the spot on opening day, or maybe does David Ross go with a kind of just like a rotation of guys? I don't know, but but once again, I like the Rio signing. I think it's a good move.
Yeah, I just will quickly reiterate exactly what all you guys said, right? A lot of depth is a really good problem. And again, we're not the ones making that decision, thankfully. So none of us are going to have to worry about who is ultimately starting at third base on opening day. But it's going to be interesting to see who takes that job when probably all of us, or at least most of us, are there come March 30th for opening day at Wrigley Field. And gentlemen, as we cross the hour 15-minute mark here, I want to get to some final thoughts, but I want to lead off this segment really quick because I know a lot of people have been asking, and there's been some good final thoughts actually here from some people I want to leave our listeners with as we exit this show. Scott Crawford says, do they run a 6-man rotation? Which was something we've talked about a little bit here. Jeremiah says, do they still have the trough urinals at Wrigley? Yes, they do, sir. I will confirm that for you, especially the bleachers. They are very, very much still present. But this is one that hit me. It was very early in the show. Like we had just gone live. It was over an hour ago at this point when this came through. But Jeremiah wants to know. He says, hey, Ron, where is it? Where is it? What is, you might ask? Well, again, I got voluntold for a certain something, and we actually have something from a very prominent baseball announcer here regarding the situation really quick. So I want to get to him here before we address the situation at hand. So a word from our friend Joe Buck.
Hello and welcome to Cubs on Tap, brought to you by Tap Sportsnet. I'm Joe Buck alongside Kyle. Today we're here to see if Ron Luce will in fact pay off his Mankini bet. You may be asking yourself, why is Ron doing this? It's pretty fucked up, actually. Absolutely no one asked to see Ron like this, but here we are.
You're right, Joe. Nobody asked to see me in a Mankini, but guess what? I was volunteered by my friends here at Cubs on Tap as Juice, Joey, and Tyler were on a show without me one night, and our friend Jeremiah suggested the idea, and they were all like, yeah, that's a great idea. Ron will do it. Well, guess what, everybody? As of literally about an hour before this show started tonight, it arrived. They arrived, I should say. It was a 2-pack. They're Cubs colors. They're red and blue, naturally. Next show, next week, I will fulfill my Trey Mancini bet, and I will wear a Mankini.
Mark your calendars, folks.
Mark them.
Mark them.
Joe Buck doesn't want to see it, but I know a lot of people might want to see it. I'll tell you right now, I tried it on already. It fits, so we don't have to worry about ripping anything on air. That's, first off, great. Sensational, some might say. Second off, it's going to be weird. I'm going to have to, I don't know. It's going to be weird. I mean, I'm just prepping you, right? I'm just getting everybody watching at home, like a little used to seeing the skin, a little bit of arm, a little bit of neck here. Because, like, it's going to be like maybe a fifth of this next week. Like it's
basically what you're saying is for those of you that's watching on YouTube live next week, make sure you have your screen turned in a way that nobody can come up from behind you to see, like, what the hell are you
what
watching?
Are you watching?
What did you search? What did you search?
Basically.
What did you find? Like what is
Go to a corner of the room next week to watch our episode.
Agreed.
Cubs on Tap rated MA featuring Ron Luce.
Yeah, it's gonna be something, but that'll be next week. So tune in. I don't know what night we're recording yet. I'm gonna throw it out there. It'll probably be Wednesday again, like it was this week. But that is my final thought. I am fulfilling my bet. It is here. It arrived this evening, as I again noted in my little tag here on the live stream. Something arrived today. That's what arrived today. It's here. It's ready. My Trey Mancini bet will be fulfilled in about a week from today. So that is my final thought. But gentlemen, I want to go around the horn. We'll go in a similar order to which we opened the show with. We'll start with Nick. We'll get to Tyler, then Joey. You can lead us out here before we get into all the pleasantries before we sign off. Final thoughts for tonight's episode. Nick, lead us off, my friend.
Yeah, I'm getting so pumped just to see how this roster is going to come together and for the spring, and how these guys are going to come along during the springtime. But David Ross has some big decisions to make. I like what we said. I would not want to be in his shoes at all, but at the same time, as a Cubs fan, I feel so happy about it. But it's gonna be interesting. Like, when do you make that decision? When do you say, okay, this is the guy I want to go with or not go with? And do you make the right decision? Did you wait long enough? Did you wait? It's like, it's going to be interesting. So I'm just getting excited, very excited for the baseball season. And I'm glad to be back on the airways here.
We're glad to have you back too, buddy. Tyler, what you got for us?
Guys, I'm just ready. I'm ready to hear those sounds. And you guys know what sounds I'm talking about. Just the sounds of, yes, the ball just landing in the mitt just perfectly. Just all those sounds. I cannot freaking wait. It's just getting me more excited and excited. MLB The Show dropped their tech test, so it just got me in the mood even more. I think it just ended yesterday, but man, I'm just, to reiterate what Nick said, I cannot wait till the first game. I can't wait to just throw it on in the background of whatever I'm doing, just have it on. And other than that, I'm just ready to get the popcorn ready for next Wednesday.
Duly noted. Joey, what do you got for us?
Yeah, I'm hoping you did some working out this off season, Ron. I hope you did a lot of leg workouts. You're getting the quads ready to go.
Maybe get a spray tan.
No.
Summer body needs to be in full effect next week. You better get a spray tan. I see a little white on those upper arms.
A little white. My doctor told me I'm vitamin D deficient. Who the hell are you talking about a little bit of white? I'm so white that the fucking light ring reflects off me.
Jesus. But so those are my final thoughts, Ron. I'm just excited, like Tyler. I want to get the popcorn ready. Juice absolutely needs to be on this week or next week to see this. I don't know if we can do 5-man show because Nick needs to see this too, even though he wasn't in on the bet. That was, Jeremiah obviously, like you said, threw that out there, but we all kind of, that's a great punishment for Ron. Sorry, Ron. Sorry you had to be.
It's all Jeremiah's fault. It's always Jeremiah's fault. Like, Joey, you and I were on the show that we had to embarrass ourselves doing the Boston accents. It's always and forever will be Jeremiah's fault. But again, we appreciate those that listen to us, and we like to cater to them, even if it means just completely embarrassing oneself on the show. But that's okay. We're ready for it. I will say, perhaps a little bit of an R-rated comment here, so bear with me. But it does run up the butt a little bit, so it makes it a little bit uncomfortable. It's going to be really interesting. I'm legit actually concerned to witness how this goes next week, because none of us are going to be able to take this seriously. Let's be completely brutally honest. We're all a bunch of fucking knuckleheads here at Cubs on Tap. It's going to be a show of giggling and laughing and watching me adjust and be uncomfortable, and it's going to be funny.
I didn't even think about that aspect.
Yeah, I didn't realize. I didn't realize. Yeah, you're doing. So you're going to do the whole show. I thought maybe you were going to have on a robe, and then at the very end, just do a reveal. So the whole
show, baby. I might start the show. I might start the show in the robe and then just do the old fucking like the Bruce Almighty skit when he loses all his clothes and just goes it might be that moment, but I'm a man of the people, and I apologize if anybody gets scarred from it. I don't think I look that terrible in a mankini, but again, I'm not exactly the skinniest in the world, so it will be what it will be, but. No, it'll be fun. It'll be fun. We'll try to figure out how we can get all 5 of us on a show in some capacity. We'll do some research. We got a week to do so, but if you want to watch Ron Luce publicly embarrass himself, because this is going to be a running theme here at Cubs on Tap, clearly, because if Seiya hits 50 bombs, I'm sure there's going to be some night in April I say some stupid shit that comes to fruition that I'm going to have to pay my debts for. Just get used to it. Ron's very good at publicly embarrassing himself, and again, I don't take myself too seriously, thankfully, so that's why this stuff actually happens and actually is going to come to fruition, because again, fuck it, why not? It's going to be fun, albeit maybe uncomfortable, but fun nonetheless. But gentlemen, before we get out of here, I do want to remind everybody that Cubs on Tap is one of 2 official Cubs podcast of the On Tap Sports Network. Go ahead and check out our friends over at Dinger Cubs. Well, they're the Dingers podcast, but you can find them at Dinger Cubs on Instagram and Twitter. All of our friends, Kevin, Jeff, Mitch, and Jake. Be sure to be following along with them all season long. We're going to do a lot of crossover collaboration with them throughout the season as well. It'll be a lot of fun having the Dingers boys involved with us here at On Tap Sportsnet for the duration of the MLB and Cubs season. You can follow all of our specific accounts here for us at Cubs on Tap or at Cubbies on Tap. That's CUBBIES on Twitter and on Instagram. I am at Loose on Tap. Joey is at Joey Knows Nothing. Teddy Freddy 270 for Tyler over there. Nick's still getting his Twitter updated for us, and we'll get you that handle before the season starts. Don't you worry, but at Juice on Tap as well. And be sure to follow all of our great writers as well. Ryan Sykes, Brandon Kane, and Rob Wegley, who also do a great job here. We're hoping to get Rob actually on and talk about his top 100 prospects list that he released on the website before the season gets started. So we will probably have him on probably early March is what I am hoping to get Rob Wegley on and pick his brain on why he ranked his top 100 the way he did. Nonetheless, be sure to be following all of them. And again, On Tap Sportsnet has it all. Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks. You know the deal. The Hawks are actually down 3-1 right now in the second period. We got Four Feathers Tank Center coming up. That's going to be a gong show of a day with myself, Johnny Nani, and Tony Marchese. That'll be a lot of fun. So be sure to tune into that as well. But we got it all covered for you here. And yes, again, Cubs fans, we all know friends that like the peasant, poor, poverty franchise that is on the south side of the White Sox. But our friends over at Sox on Tap, who were just live actually a little bit before us, they do a great job covering those boys at 35th and Shield. So be sure to sell your friends about our friends and send them over to Sox on Tap. Once again, ontapsportsnet.com, at ontapsportsnet on social media, on Tap Sports Network. Go ahead and check out what's on tap in Chicago sports. Gentlemen, it's always a pleasure getting on the microphone with you. As we noted at the top of the show, it's like a therapy session for all of us. And guys, I'm just getting ready. I'm ready for the marathon, right? We're in the sprint mode. It's once a week right now. We're getting geared up. Boys, I'm ready to be on a microphone 4 to 5 times a week. I don't give a shit. I'm ready to talk Cubs baseball all season long. And it all starts on Saturday. First game, 2:05 Central Standard Time, as the Cubbies welcome the San Francisco Giants to Sloan Park out in Mesa, Arizona, for game 1 of spring training. And highly encourage everybody to watch. I know I will be tuning in as well. And it'll be another step closer. As our title says here tonight, so close you can almost taste it. Cubs baseball is right around the corner. Gentlemen, what do you guys say before we get out of here? The only way we know how, here at Cubs on Tap.
Fuck the Cardinals.
Chibaga. Ron, I hope the bowling balls are tucked in next week.
They will be tucked in. I've already
Get
tested
ready.
it. They
Tomorrow.
They are
Next
tucked
week,
in.
man. Sorry. Next week. It's
They are
happening.
tucked in. They are indeed tucked in. And what do you guys say? Let's go, Cubbies.
Go Cubs.